Hi everyone, and welcome to Talk 66. This week we're talking about extreme heat. Now, I know the weather has broken just over the last week. However, it's likely that we're going to encounter more heat waves. We are told that there might be one by the middle to the end of August, but even if we don't get one this summer, we're likely to have them again because of global warming. We know that there's climate change, so we're likely to get far more of these heat waves. So how do we deal with it? What happens to the human body when we're subjected to this kind of heat? It can be extremely dangerous. It can make us feel quite ill. The most obvious thing, of course, is sweating. And when we sweat too much, what happens is the body loses more water than it normally does. Obviously, just normal breathing and living, we're actually losing water, but you start sweating more and you're losing a lot. And that can cause a reaction within the body itself. If we start to lose water, what tends to happen is the body will dilate the blood vessels, and that's to improve blood flow. And what can happen with that is the blood can start to pool. And that's why we end up with things like swollen fingers, and we can get swollen legs, swollen feet, that kind of thing. Quite dangerous. There's overall fatigue. Sometimes there's confusion, and obviously we can start to feel a bit faint or dizzy or whatever. All of these things are literally due to that heat and loss of water. But there are two different types, if you like, of reaction to the heat that we will encounter during a heat wave. Now, the first one is heat exhaustion, and that's something that is less serious, but serious nonetheless. So it's things like, again, confusion, dizziness, fainting, just a general feeling of fatigue, unable to do anything. Muscle cramps. Now, that's due to a loss of water. Often when we get cramps, it's because we're actually dehydrated, so we need to drink more. So if you're getting muscle cramps, it could be literally due to the heat. Headaches, a rapid or weak pulse. It could be that your skin goes cool or pale and quite clammy looking. You've also got headaches, nausea, and vomiting. All these things are simply due to being overheated. So what do we do? Well, the obvious thing is get out of the heat if you can. You may remember all those years ago when we were all probably sun worshippers and we lay out in the sun for hours thinking anything to get a tan. That's because that's what you needed, because everyone said when you came back from holiday how well you looked. We're now realising that's not important at all. In fact, it's very dangerous. And even though we are very good now at wearing all sorts of sun protection, it doesn't mean that we can still sit out in the heat. And even our homes can get overheated. So where you can, keep your homes cool, get out of the heat, maybe take a cool shower or a cool bath, have a cool drink, and rest is the best thing. Just sit and relax and rest. You've then got heat stroke. Now, that's something that really is very serious and can be, in extreme cases, fatal. You may remember years ago, I think it was in Greece, where there were many people who we were told on the news died as a result of the temperatures over there. You're thinking, well, what were they doing in the sun? Again, it's not necessarily being in the sun. It's just our body is being overheated and can't cope with it. And with this, you might encounter things like, again, a high body temperature, but this time not sweating. So you don't sweat. If you get heat stroke, you won't be sweating. So it's quite a dry skin, but your skin might get very, very hot to the point where it looks and feels hot. So it might go very red, almost to the point where it looks as if your skin's going to burst, but it really, really almost feels hot to the touch. Disorientation, you're not quite sure where you are, what's going on. Rapid pulse, nausea and vomiting, muscle weakness and cramps, the same as before. But it also can result in seizures and a loss of consciousness. Now, with heat stroke, you actually need to get medical attention. It can be very, very serious. And it's particularly serious for the very elderly and the very young. We are responsible for looking after children. There are still a few people about who still let children run about in all kinds of heat, wearing just a little swimsuit, and they might put their suntan lotion on, but they're not thinking about them overheating. So again, we need to watch what we're doing, be aware of what's happening outside as well as inside our homes. So here's a few things that you can think about when the next heat wave comes. Things like staying cool. We've mentioned moving out of the heat, getting into a cool environment. Draw your curtains or blinds. Now, you might think, well, no, because I want the windows open and I want as much of the air to come in as possible. If it's just warm air that's coming in, the sun is shining straight in through a window, you need to actually draw your blinds. If you think about it in places like Italy and Spain, where the weather is really, really hot, Their houses are built to stay cool. We're going for all these bifold windows, huge, great windows and things to let the light in, because particularly where we are in the Northern Hemisphere, we need to maximise that light. Whereas once you get into these other countries, they're trying to keep the sun out of their homes. They know that they need to keep cool, and therefore their homes tend to be darker. So draw your curtains. Yes, open your windows by all means, but keep your house as cool as you can. And if the sun is at the front of your house, it's probably better that you go and sit at the back. Drink more water, fairly obvious. That's one that we talk about an awful lot, I know, but it's important. But what temperature of water? The tendency is to go for lots and lots of iced water. You're actually better to have your water at room temperature. It's far better for the body. It's not such a shock. So if you've got some water sitting in a jug, then just keep pouring it and drinking. Avoid using your cooker. Because all you're doing then is adding more heat to your home. Cool baths and showers. I don't mean cold. I'm not saying you have to go into ice cold dips, but certainly cool. Don't go for hot showers and baths. A nice cool one. Rest, take breaks. Don't be thinking, oh, well, if I'm indoors, I might as well do a complete spring clean. I'll clean the house from top to bottom. If you're overheated anyway and you're then doing too much, it's going to be then just too much for you. Lightweight natural fabrics. That's really important. And I think more we're moving towards that, as in the availability of these things. I can remember over years going to find outfits, if you think about it, perhaps for a wedding or something like that in the summer, and you manage to find the perfect outfit, but although it's cotton, it's lined with polyester. That is no good at all. We need a cotton lining as well as the cotton garment itself. Even if you're going to go for a hat, go for a hat that is cotton, or it's aerated. You know, these open weave hats, so that your head can actually breathe, that you're letting the air, the heat out. And a hat is a brilliant idea. If you really hate hats, the one thing you can go for is a parasol. That looks absolutely gorgeous. I always think it looks so feminine. And there's nothing nicer than and they're very lightweight. If you get, these kind of Japanese style, I had a beautiful one. Mine was more of a Victorian, almost like a lace parasol. Sadly, it broke, but I will look around, see if I can get another one. But a parasol is great. And these days, you can actually get now, they are, if you like double purpose umbrellas and parasols. They are umbrellas, but they are, if you like, a sun protection factor as well. So the inside is lined with, it looks like a silvered fabric, and it can be up to factor 50 protection, which is actually very good. And they're also therefore waterproof too. So maybe get one of those. You can get telescopic ones and you can keep them in your bag for any eventuality. After all, we do live in Scotland. Exercise. Should you exercise at all when it's hot? Well, we need to keep moving. That's natural for our bodies. If you live by the sea, it's great because you can go for a quick dip. But going for walks and things, I would say any exercise that you do, go in the morning. Do your exercise then while it's cooler or later on. But certainly in the morning is the best time, because you're going to get the cool temperature and therefore it won't be damaging you so much. And the last thing is, if the weather is really hot, it might be worth checking on family or friends or neighbours. Perhaps you've got an elderly neighbour who isn't particularly mobile or whatever, and their home could become very, very overheated. And as I've mentioned, with some of the symptoms, particularly of heat stroke, they may be starting to feel a bit disoriented and not even think about getting a drink. And it's just a matter of, you don't have to say, oh, I'm here to check you're all right in the heat. It's just, hi, just popped in to say hello. Oh, I could do with a cool drink. Shall I make you one? So all of those things will help. Hopefully we will keep the sunshine for a bit longer. Enjoy all that sun, but be careful and look after yourselves. Take care now, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.